What's up, everyone? Welcome to the Power Play with CJ. Trying to focus in on what happens with Kopitar if him and Kings do not reach a contract extension. Obviously they a little bit of a holdup last week apparently, and I've been saying all along. I think him and Stamkos will re-sign with their respective teams, but the longer this process drags out, the more likely testing free agency is, and I think you look at what's out there. Kopitar and Stamkos are both going to want $10.5 million. Yeah, it's what Taves and King got in Chicago. They're going to be looking for that, and then they deserve it. We're going to focus on just Kopitar today. I've talked about Stamkos and his situation ad nauseum, but if he gets to free agency and the Kings don't re-sign him, and he starts looking elsewhere, what teams would be, interested in his services. The Toronto Maple Leafs come to mind, particularly if the hometown kid, Steven Stamkos, doesn't come home. They're going to have like $7 million in cap space, and then they can move a few pieces around the board. Whether it's finally trading, Van Riemsdyk or Bozak, maybe finding a suitor for something like that. I think they can definitely. They're in a position where they can move a few pieces around and get it done. So that's a possibility. And I think Kopitar would be intrigued by going to Toronto. I'm not of the mindset of players that salivate over playing in Toronto, particularly a guy that has no connection to Ontario. He's Slovenian. The Knicks and the Maple Leafs are a lot like the New York Knicks in basketball, where they're a storied franchise, but they haven't won anything in almost 50 years. So it's like, you can tell me tradition and the mecca of that respective sport. I mean, Ontario obviously is the hockey capital of the world, one of them, and New York's the mecca of basketball. So you can pitch that to a blue in the face, but bottom line is, show me the baby. Put a winner on the ice and get back to me. So that's one thing that has been working against the Leafs. And the Leafs fans are arrogant enough to think every free agent and mother's going to want to go there, but this one could be a possibility. I'm not saying it's going to happen. Another team that's intriguing, I'll tell you how much, is Nashville. They've looked for a number one center for a while. Their internal budget's doing pretty well for the first time in seemingly their history. And with the way the team's been playing the last couple of years, you're going to get more dollars coming in. In the form of higher attendance, TV numbers, all that shit. So, they want to splurge. I think they can pull it off. And I mean, the question always is, can they trade one of their defensemen for number one center? And the answer is they may not have to. I mean, if you really look at it, I mean, they're going to have $10.5 million in cap space right there. But, with the internal budget, if they want to move James Neal, I think Neal and Kopitar would have great chemistry together. But if you want to move Neal on that $5 million cap hit to, for your own, reasons internally, budget-wise, that's a possibility. Nashville also has to re-sign Seth Jones, who, I guess they're having talks, kick them off, should happen. That deal should be consummated, I'd say by January 1st at the latest. And Phil Forsberg, obviously. So, that $10 million in cap space can dry up pretty quickly, but I think they can move a few pieces and at least, be to the point where they're talking to them. If you remember, I mean, the summer Suter and Weber were free agents. I know Weber was a restricted, Suter was unrestricted. They were talking about bringing those two back with Zach Parise at one point. So, going after a big name forward via free agency isn't something they've never experimented with before. Remember, once upon a time they signed Paul Kariya. So you got to look at it and say to yourself, all right, there could be something to this. Again, I think at the end of the day, Kopitar ends up back in Los Angeles, but definitely an intriguing situation to think about. I think him and Toronto would be interesting, and then I think him and Nashville. It's a double whammy right there. Not only does Nashville get a number one center they've really lacked for a long time, but they also get they also weaken a potential Western Conference foe. So that Western Conference foe that's one of the teams that's ruled the league for the last few years. Anyway, that's all I got for episode of the Power Play with CJ. Stay tuned for episodes through the season and beyond. Later, guys.